everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lottie and this is my April wrap-up. Can't believe it is May. I can't believe it. I don't like it. I was just thinking earlier today that we are nearly halfway through the year and I haven't read anywhere near as many books as I wanted to this year. But then I had to remind myself that I've been balancing my hobbies a lot more this year. You know, I've still been reading quite a lot, but I've also been playing a lot more video games, which is something I neglected in the last 2 years, really, pretty much since I started my channel. Oopsie. But yeah, today we're going to talk through the 5 books that I read in April and talk you through my thoughts on them, little mini reviews, so stick around if you are interested in hearing my thoughts on the books that I read. So of course in April I participated in Realmathon, which was created by Covers with Cassidy, and that is a teams-based readathon where 4 realms battle it out to become on top. At the time of filming this, I'm filming this on the 1st of May. We don't quite yet know who won. I think Cassidy said that the submissions close on the 3rd of the month and the winner will be announced on the 4th of May. So I'm still waiting to hear the status of my team. I was on Team Enya, which is the fantasy team. So fingers crossed. I've heard things did not go well for Enya this month, and it's because the way that the readathon works is it's like average number of points per person. So Enya might have had a lot of members, but doesn't necessarily mean we were going to be the winning team. So I did my best this month for Team Enya. All of the books that I read I used to gain points for my team instead of attack the other teams and take points away from them. So I'm hoping I did okay. But before I talk you through like the books that I read, I have a few little stats to talk you through. So as I said, in April I read a total of 5 books, which is equal to 2,168 pages across the entire month, which averages out to 72 pages per day. Out of those 5 books, 3 were 5 stars, 1 was 4.5 stars, and 1 was 3.5 stars, which is an average of 4.6 stars per book. So for Team Enya, across all of the books that I read in April, I got a total of 393 points. Now that was technically including Queen of Air and Darkness, which I did finish on the 1st of April. So I was a little bit naughty and I thought I would include it for my Realmathon points as well as Marvelathon in March. I think I read maybe like 200 pages worth for that book in April, but I included the whole book for when I submitted the points simply because I think Enya could use all the help it could get. So I was a little bit naughty and did that. So I thought I'll quickly mention Queen of Air and Darkness. Obviously I talked you through it in my last wrap up, but Queen of Air and Darkness got me 64 points for Enya, and I used it for the prompts ebook, buddy read, a young adult, mental health representation, and with a weather word in the title. And of course it was also a fantasy, so that was my team genre. I can't remember if I included it as a hybrid genre because it is kind of a fantasy romance. I can't exactly remember if I did tick that box at present, but I probably did. So right, now let's actually get on with the books that I read in April. So the first book I read in April was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, and this got me 60 points for Enya, and I used it for the prompts: a book with a map, multiple perspectives, a young adult, and an author who uses initials, of course the J in Sarah J. Maas for that one. So yes, this is the 6th book, the 5th book, I can't remember. I think it's the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series. It is the one that takes place alongside Empire of Storms, and it has been my favourite book in the series thus far, which I could not believe. I absolutely love this, and you guys know the rocky journey it has been for the Throne of Glass series for me. It's been like I've not enjoyed one of the books and I've really enjoyed one, so it's made me very, very nervous for Kingdom of Ash because the way that it's going, I don't think I'm going to enjoy Kingdom of Ash because it seems every time I alternate a book I just don't enjoy them. But yeah, this has been my favourite book in the series so far, which is really strange because I thought I was really not going to like it. For some reason I had it in my head this is the most disliked book in the whole series, like kind of across the fandom, but you guys proved me wrong when I talked about it in my TBR video and said that you really enjoyed this book, and now I understand why you've said that, because this was fantastic. So this book follows Cale Westfall as he goes to the southern continent because of something that occurs in Queen of Shadows. Is that the name of the book? I think so. So something happens in that book, which means that he has to go to the southern continent to have something occur. Obviously it's really difficult to talk about this book without spoiling the series, but I loved seeing the character development with Chaol and seeing the relationships that he established in this book as well. I just really enjoyed this. It was so much fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Chaol in Kingdom of Ash, but again, I'm nervous about Kingdom of Ash because I don't know if I'm gonna like it. So I don't know what it was exactly about this book that made me enjoy it so much. I don't know if it's because Chaol was away from the rest of the cast of characters and so we got to focus on him a little bit more. I feel like with Emperor of Storms things were very broad. There was a lot of characters to focus on, and this kind of really brings it back down, and we're only following on a handful of characters in this book, and all of the characters we followed in this book as well, I just found them very interesting and much more likeable than the rest of the characters for the majority of the series. So I was very delightfully surprised by this. If you want my full spoilery thoughts, the Tower of Dawn vlog will be going up at some point. It's my next one to edit while I'm filming this, but I don't know if it's going to go up before this video, so just keep an eye on my channel in case it's not gone up yet, and if it has gone up yet, that will be of course linked for you guys. But yeah, I absolutely love this book. Can't believe how much I enjoyed it. It was just a winner for me. I then read the first two books in the Plated Prisoner series, which are Gild and Glint by Raven Kennedy, and I absolutely love these as well. So again, there are spoilery vlogs for these books going up at some point on my channel, so if they have already gone up, they will be linked for you guys. If they haven't gone up yet, keep an eye out for when they do, if you would like to see my full spoilery thoughts on these books, because I loved this series. It is like a new favourite series. I can't believe how into it I am. I talked about in the vlogs to say it's kind of given me the same sort of vibes I felt when I read the ACOTAR series for the first time, and how with the first book, like, it was kind of similar in the sense that it feels like a prologue to what is actually going to be the main plot and the main romance of the series as well. This of course is a fantasy romance series. It has a lot of similarities to ACOTAR, but it's by no means like the same sort of plot. But if you really like the ACOTAR series and the way that the romance happens in those books, you will probably enjoy this series as well. So this is a King Midas retelling, and we are following Auron, who is the king's favoured. She is gold touched and nobody can talk to her, touch her. She's kept in a cage for the majority of her life, only to be brought out when the king really needs her for political gain. And so we're kind of following the story of Auron as she has like personal growth. The relationship she has with Midas is a romantic sexual one, but it's also very abusive. So it's very interesting to see Auron kind of grow as a person in this series, come into herself more. There is a lot of magic in this as well, which I'm very interested by. I'm so looking forward to reading Gleam and seeing what happens next, because I feel like especially these first two books, they're kind of very much a prologue, I feel, to what the meat of the series is going to get into. So in this first book, it's mainly focusing on Auron in the kingdom where she and Midas live, and Midas does something for political gain which results in him going to another kingdom, and Auron is then going to join him later on, and then things do start to go wrong. And then in this second book, we're kind of seeing the aftermath of those things that go wrong before stuff happens. So it's kind of difficult for me to talk about this series without giving away huge spoilers, just because of the way that the series is told. But going into this series, I knew that the actual love interest wasn't going to be Midas, so I do apologise if you find that a little bit of a spoiler. But I feel like it's kind of important to know that when you go into this series, because I think if you go into the series thinking that Midas is the love interest and that he is meant to be kind of a hero type character, you will not enjoy it because of the nature of the relationship he has with Auron. But I just really loved this. I can't wait to see what happens next and what's going to happen with Auron and the actual character who is the main proper love interest of this series. So for Realmathon, Gild did get me 110 points. I did read it during the Peace Talks weekend, which got double points if you were getting points for your own team. And so I used this for the prompts: a book with a map, cursive fonts for the title, a retelling, a new to me author, and also multiple perspectives. And then Glint got me 60 points for Enya, and I used it for the prompts: book with a map, multiple perspectives, cursive font on the cover, and it was also a retelling. So the only one that didn't stay the same was the new to me author, because obviously this was the first book and I'd never read from Raven Kennedy before. And then by the point I read this one, I'd obviously read one of her books. So a little mini book that I read in between the Plated Prisoner series was The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill, which is the first in a middle grade graphic novel series about tea dragons. So for my Realmathon points, this got me 62 points for Enya, and I used it for the prompts: a middle grade, cursive font in the title, an author who uses initials, a new to me author, and also I could spell my name with the letters on the cover. There are several instances here where I could spell Lottie on the cover, so that was pretty convenient. I learned that the author of this is actually non-binary. I was gifted the second one, the Tea Dragon Festival, again by Vicky, thank you Vicky, and found out that the author is actually non-binary, and this is just an old edition with their old name on it. So I didn't know that at the time, so I do apologise for misgendering the author when I first talked about this book, probably in my TBR video, but I didn't know, so now I do. But this is obviously middle grade graphic novel. It is a fantasy, and it was so cute. It's very short, and it kind of just covers a year about this character who I can't remember the names of anybody at this point, who ends up becoming a bit of an apprentice for these two guys who are trying to preserve the art of caring for tea dragons. And tea dragons are little miniature dragons, kind of the size of a cat or a dog I suppose, who grow flowers and leaves and stuff that can be used for tea. So you've got chamomile, you've got ginseng, jasmine, etc. And I thought that was such a cute idea, and I would really love to carry on with this series as soon as possible. Yeah, it was very sweet. The art style is stunning. I just love the way that the colours are used in this book, and it's just beautiful. It was so beautiful. It wasn't quite like mind-blowing for me. I just thought it was a really cute, sweet little story, and I'm looking forward to exploring the world of tea dragons more in the future. And the final book that I read in April was Before Their Hands by Jo Abercrombie, which is the second book in the first Law series. So this got me 37 points for Team Enya, and I used it for the prompts: a book with a map, a buddy read, multiple perspectives, and cursive font for the title. So yeah, this is a grimdark adult fantasy, and I read it for the catch-up book club, which are currently doing first law along. So this was interesting to read. It was kind of difficult actually for me to get through. I don't know, I think because of the nature of the book it is quite difficult to concentrate on it. It's heavy, high fantasy, there's a lot of characters, a lot of things going on, but I was intrigued. So in the first book we're following kind of three main characters. We're following Logan, who is a wayward Northman. We're following Jazal, who is a bit of a fencing prodigy and a bit of a dickhead. And we've also got Glocta, who is a inquisitor for the king. In the second book, they've kind of all had their stories developed. I really don't know how to talk about this series because there isn't much of a plot, to be honest. It's very character driven, and it's really difficult to pinpoint what the main plot of the story is. About halfway through, maybe more 2/3 through, I thought I had figured out what the actual plot of the whole series is going to be, which is related to something to do with the seed. And then towards the end of the book I kind of thought maybe I haven't quite grasped what the plot is and what the kind of point of the story is. Like, I've enjoyed it, it was a journey, but there's different things going on. I'm just like, nothing is kind of connecting just yet, and I'm very interested to kind of talk about this book in the live show and see what the hosts and other people who are joining in with their book club kind of have to say about it, see if I can work out what is actually going on in this book. So with this one we are following the same group of characters as well, but we also have the addition of another perspective in the form of Captain West, who was a bit of a side character in the first book, and he has teamed up with another group of Northmen. They are fighting in the north because there's the King of the North who I guess wants to take over the whole country, and so they are fighting him to stop that, and then other things occur during this. Then we're also following Logan and this Magus guy and some other people who are looking for the seed, and then we've also got Glocta, who ends up going south to try and defend a city against the Gurkish, who are also a group of bad people like the Northmen tend to be. So it's kind of all a little bit over the place. It's very military based, not very political, but very much more like battles, military, which I do struggle with in fantasy. Like, I don't particularly get on well with fight scenes. I find it really hard to focus on them and kind of picture exactly what everybody's doing. You know, if you describe a battle to me, I'm like, okay, I just need to know who won, if anybody died. Like, you try and describe the physical action to me and I just, like, it goes straight over my head. I have no idea what's going on. But I really enjoyed the scenes with Glockter. As he is an Inquisitor, there's quite a few torture scenes and they were gross, disgusting, but I found them very, very interesting. And I also like seeing the relationships develop in this book between several of the characters. But I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen in the third book. That is the final book in this initial trilogy, and then the next book in the whole series is a standalone, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen next, because I feel like there's just not a lot of space, like there's just not a lot of pages for this story to be concluded, because I still don't quite understand like what is happening and what the outcome could possibly be. So it's going to be interesting to see like how it's going to all come together in the end. These books aren't particularly long, I feel, as well, for an epic fantasy series. They're only just about 600 pages, so I'm not quite sure how long the next book, The Last Argument of Kings, is, but I don't know. I'm just very interested how it's all going to come together, because it's just kind of very up in the air at the moment and I'm not certain like how things are going to come together. But I'm really enjoying reading this series. It's just difficult for me to get through because it's a lot more mature, I guess, to what I'm used to reading. Like, I do read a lot of young adult books, I read a lot of new adult and kind of easy books, whereas this has kind of got a lot more mature writing style in the sense it's just a little bit more complicated. But I think what I get lost in is those action scenes and I find it hard to concentrate on them. But when we do have like conversations between characters, I'm fully present and concentrating on what's going on. So yeah, it's a tricky one for me, but I did enjoy it. I'm just not loving the series. Like, I don't think it's going to be a favourite series, but I am enjoying it. So these were the 5 books that I read in April. I feel like it was a pretty good reading month. It's obviously been extremely fantasy heavy and I'm looking forward to reading a couple of contemporaries over the next few months, because I just feel like everything has been very fantasy based lately. But I'm really enjoying just kind of focusing on fantasy at the moment. But I'm so excited to read Gleam very, very soon. I can't wait. So I'd probably say that my favourite book of the month was Gild and Glint equally. I don't think I have a least favourite this month. They were all pretty good reads and I found them all very enjoyable. So that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below what you read in April. If you've read any of the books that I read, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. Let's chat and get some theories going, mainly about this series, because I have no idea what the hell is going on. If you haven't already and you would like to be, please do consider subscribing. I post a new video every single week. And that is it from me today, guys. Bye!